To start, we need to look at the scriptures to identify this Antichrist system for what it really is. If you have seen previous videos from this ministry, you would see not only how the Vatican is the woman who rides the beast in Revelation, but also how the Pope is the Antichrist. According to most biblical commentators for Daniel chapter 2 verse 40, Rome is the iron legs of the statue of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. But now we are talking about the fifth and final world order, which we will start to disclose with a small reading from the book of Daniel. Let's turn to the passage in question. Daniel 2 verses 40 to 43. And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, forasmuch as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay, and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, forasmuch as thou sawest the iron mixed with MIRRY clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron, and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong, and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with MIRRY clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. As seen in the scriptures, iron is still a part of the end times world kingdom. In seeing how Rome never truly fell, but rather amalgamized Roman paganism with a veneer of Christianity, calling itself the Holy Roman Empire, there is no reason not to suspect this system as still Antichrist. However, we can see that the kingdom is divided, so there has to be another system at work that needs to be in effect during the end times that is in cooperation with Rome. Enter the Talmudic Jewish system, which is the MIRRY clay that is mixed with the iron. We can see this demonstrated with several passages in Scripture, as there is not only one reference to Israel, which is compared with MIRRY clay, but a clear indication that the Jews have chosen their king, and it's not Jesus Christ. As we read Jeremiah 18 verse 6, God says, O house of Israel, cannot I do with you as this potter, saith the Lord? Behold, as the clay is in the potter's hand, so are ye in mine hand, O house of Israel. If you are familiar with Romans 9 to 11, you know how this is explicitly about the Jews' rejection of Jesus Christ and their prophesied national redemption, which you can learn more about in this ministry's video, Dismantling the Doctrine of Replacement Theology. In keeping with the theme that directly connects the nation of Israel to that of clay, it says in Romans 9 verses 21 to 23, Hath not the potter power over the clay, of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor, and another unto dishonor? What if God, willing to shew his wrath, and to make his power known, endured with much long-suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, and that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory. Although Rome had been the ones to have ultimately put the nails in Jesus and put him on the cross, let us remember how Israel had rejected Jesus through his crucifixion. And when Jesus was on trial, they said, "His blood be on us and on our children," cursing themselves as a people from that day forward. In John 19 verse 15, the Jews said something else that is relevant to this Antichrist system we're talking about. As it reads, "But they cried out, away with him, crucify him. Pilate saith unto them, Shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, We have no king but Caesar." Have no king but Caesar? Caesar is a Gentile Roman. How could this be the case that the Jews would say, "We have no king but Caesar"? When we read the book of Daniel in the 9th chapter, in verse 26, when talking about the Antichrist, it says, "The people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary." The prince that shall come is talked about in the next verse, where it says, "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week," which will culminate in what is called the abomination of desolation. In 70 AD, 40 years after the ascension of Jesus, Titus and his Roman legions had destroyed the Temple of Jerusalem, not only making his siege a fulfillment of Daniel's prophecy, but also identifies the people of the Antichrist, which is Roman. It is in verse 27 where it talks about the abomination of desolation, a completely separate event from the siege of 70 AD that is to take place in a future third temple, which we learn more about from Paul in 2 Thessalonians 2 verses 3 to 4, as he says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, shewing himself that he is God." We can see that the Antichrist identifies himself as being in the place of God, in which the Pope does by calling himself the Holy Father and the Vicar of Christ. And we can see that the Jews chose Caesar over their true Messiah. Some Jews go as far as to call Donald Trump their Messiah now, due to all that he has done for Israel.
Interesting, I was visiting Jonathan in his Jewish voice, so I went to the Jewish deli. And of course we had the discussion on Trump. I asked them, who is Trump to you? And you know what they said? Trump is our new Messiah, actually. They want to believe that Trump is the Messiah. What I think is happening here is God using Donald Trump to hasten the coming of the Lord. This is really what is happening here. And we need to stay tuned, because he's lining up with Israel right now in a major way.
So it's not beyond the Jews to allow a Gentile to place himself in their future temple as their Messiah. The Jews have yoked themselves together with Rome ever since the 1st century, which we will be demonstrating further within this presentation.